Dear, the universe is always listening, but you have been speaking the wrong language. You see, most people approach their financial troubles like beggars approaching a cruel king, hoping for mercy, expecting rejection. They say things like, I hope I can pay my bills, or maybe someday I'll get out of debt, or I'll try my best to make ends meet. But hope is not a command, maybe is not a decree. Trying is not claiming. And the universe, magnificent and responsive as it is, does not respond to wishes and worries. It responds to orders. It responds to absolute conviction. It responds to your spoken word charged with faith. I am going to share with you today something so powerful, so absolutely transformative, that if you truly grasp it and apply it, your entire financial reality can shift. Not someday, not eventually, but now, this very moment. I am going to teach you how to order the universe to clear your debts. Not ask, not beg, not hope. Order. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking, order the universe? Who am I to order anything? I am just a person struggling to pay rent. And that is precisely the belief that has kept you exactly where you are. You have forgotten who you are. You have forgotten that you are not separate from the infinite supply of the universe. You have forgotten that the same power that moves galaxies through space, that turns acorns into mighty oaks, that keeps your heart beating without your conscious effort, that same power flows through you. You are not a disconnected fragment begging for scraps. You are an individualized expression of infinite abundance itself. When I speak of ordering the universe, I am not speaking of arrogance. I am speaking of alignment. I am speaking of you finally stepping into your rightful place as a co-creator with the divine. You see, there is a spiritual law at work in this universe, and it is absolutely impersonal and absolutely reliable. It is the law of cause and effect. Your word is the cause. Your circumstances are the effect. What you decree with conviction and faith must manifest, because that is how the law works. I have watched this happen hundreds of times. I have seen people on the brink of financial ruin speak the right words with the right consciousness, and within days, sometimes hours, money appeared from the most unexpected sources. Old debts forgiven. New opportunities materialized out of thin air. Checks arrived in the mail with no logical explanation. This is not magic. This is not luck. This is law. This is how the universe operates when you learn to speak its language. Let me tell you about that woman I mentioned, the one drowning in debt. Her name was Margaret, and she owed more money than she earned in a year. Collection agencies called her daily. She could not sleep. She could not eat. Fear had consumed her completely. But I taught her what I am about to teach you. I taught her to stop begging and start commanding. I gave her a specific decree, a specific set of words charged with power, and I told her to speak them aloud every single day with absolute conviction, as if they were already true. She looked at me like I had lost my mind. She said, Florence, you do not understand. The debt is real. The bills are real. How can words change any of that? And I said to her what I say to you now. Everything you see in your physical world was first a word, first a thought, first an invisible idea that became visible through the power of belief and spoken decree. Your debt feels permanent because you have been declaring it permanent with every worried thought and fearful word. Margaret decided she had nothing to lose. She began speaking her money decree every morning and every night. She spoke it when the phone rang with another collection call. She spoke it when fear gripped her chest. She spoke it until the words went from feeling like lies to feeling like truth. And then, something extraordinary happened. Within 2 weeks, a distant relative she had not spoken to in years contacted her out of nowhere and offered her a job that paid 3 times what she was earning. Within a month, one of her largest creditors made an accounting error in her favor and forgave half of what she owed. Within 3 months, every single debt was cleared. Not through struggle, not through suffering, through alignment with the invisible law that governs all supply. Now, you might think Margaret was just lucky, that this was coincidence, that I am telling you a fairy tale, but I have seen this pattern repeat itself too many times to call it luck. I have seen it in my own life. I have seen it in the lives of thousands who have learned this principle. And I am here to tell you that the same law that worked for Margaret works for you. The same universe that responded to her command will respond to yours. But here is what you must understand. You cannot speak words of abundance while holding thoughts of poverty. You cannot decree your debts cleared while simultaneously believing they are permanent. You cannot order the universe with your mouth while contradicting that order with your mind. Your consciousness must match your words. Your faith must be absolute. Your conviction must be unshakable. This is why most people fail. They say the words, but they do not believe the words. They speak the decree, but they do not feel the decree. They try to trick the universe with their lips while their heart is full of doubt, and the universe cannot be tricked. The law responds to your true inner conviction, not your desperate outer performance. So, before I give you the specific decree that will clear your debts, I must first help you understand the consciousness behind the decree. I must help you shift from beggar to commander. I must help you remember who you truly are. You see, when you say a decree with the consciousness of lack, it's like trying to unlock a door with the wrong key. The words may be identical, but the vibration is entirely different. You're not commanding, you're pleading. You're not claiming, you're hoping. And the universe can feel the difference. I remember a woman who came to me drowning in debt. She had been affirming for months, "My debts are dissolved." But every time she said it, I could hear the tremor in her voice. She was arguing with her own words. Inside, she was thinking, "But I owe so much, but there's no way, but I've tried everything." Her affirmation was sound, but her consciousness was still shackled. So I asked her to stop for a moment, to be silent, to recognize a simple truth. In the invisible realm, in the world of spirit, where all supply originates, there is no debt. There never was. Debt is a human invention, a shadow cast by the belief in separation from source. I asked her, "Can you, just for this moment, accept that God has already paid every bill? That divine intelligence is not confused about how to clear your accounts? That the infinite cannot be in debt to the finite?" She closed her eyes. And for the first time, she stopped fighting. She stopped rehearsing her limitations. She simply rested in the idea that perhaps, just perhaps, the spiritual realm didn't recognize her debt at all. That shift, that tiny crack in her wall of belief, was the beginning of her freedom. Within 3 weeks, money began flowing to her from the most unexpected directions. An old friend repaid a loan she'd forgotten about. A company refunded her for an error made 2 years prior. A relative passed and left her a small inheritance no one knew was coming. The universe had been waiting not for better words, but for better consciousness. She stopped begging. She started claiming. That shift from petition to possession is one of the most misunderstood teachings in all of metaphysics. People think affirmation is about convincing God. It's not. God doesn't need convincing. God is already yes. The entire universe is wired for abundance, for flow, for the answer to every question you could ever ask. You are the one blocking it with your tone of lack. Let me show you what I mean. There's a vast difference between saying, "I need money," and saying, "Money comes to me easily and constantly." The first is a confession of emptiness. The second is a recognition of truth. When you say, "I need," you're reporting from poverty consciousness. When you say, "I have," or "it is mine," you're reporting from the kingdom, the realm where all things already exist in perfect form, just waiting for your acceptance. Jesus never said, "Please, Father, if it be thy will, maybe consider healing this person." He said, "Be thou made whole." He spoke to the condition as if it were already dissolved, because in the realm of truth it was. You've been taught that humility means smallness, that piety means self-denial. But true humility is knowing your place in the divine order not as a beggar, but as an heir. You don't grovel before your inheritance, you accept it. I've watched people sabotage the very things they've prayed for because they couldn't shift their inner speech to match their desire. They'd ask for a partner, then say, "I'm so alone, nobody wants me." They'd ask for success, then say, "Nothing ever works out for me." Do you see? They were watering 2 gardens, one of blessing, one of curse. And the curse garden grew faster because they tended it more faithfully. I've watched people do this their entire lives. They pray in the morning, then spend the rest of the day contradicting every word they prayed. They ask for abundance, then complain about bills all afternoon. They declare health, then tell everyone who'll listen about their aches and pains. They affirm love, then criticize their spouse over dinner. This is spiritual sabotage of the highest order. Your subconscious mind doesn't care which seed you plant more often. It simply grows what you give it. And if you're giving it doubt 12 hours a day and faith for 5 minutes, well, doubt is what's going to fill your garden. I knew a woman once who wanted desperately to marry. She'd affirm, "My perfect partner is coming to me now." Beautiful words. But then she'd spend her evenings saying, "All the good ones are taken. I'm too old. Men don't want women like me." She was speaking her desire into existence for 2 minutes and speaking it out of existence for 2 hours. Then she'd wonder why her demonstrations never came. You cannot plant corn and uproot it daily, then wonder why you have no harvest. Now here's what most people miss entirely. They think the big declarations are what matter, the formal prayers, the written affirmations, the moments when they're really trying. But I'm telling you, it's the casual words that shape your life. It's what you say without thinking. It's the reflexive complaints, the habitual criticisms, the automatic negative responses. These are the words that reveal what you truly believe. You might stand in front of your mirror every morning declaring, "I am prosperous, I am abundant, I am successful." But if you spend the rest of your day saying, "I can't afford that, money's so tight, I never have enough," those casual words carry more weight because they're backed by genuine feeling. They're coming from your real belief system, not from what you wish you believed. The universe responds to your genuine conviction, not your hopeful thinking. This is why I always say, watch your idle words like a hawk watches prey. Those throwaway comments, "That's just my luck. I always get sick this time of year. I'm terrible with money, these 2 are decrees. You're legislating your experience with every careless sentence. Your subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't fact-check. It simply says, "Your wish is my command," and sets about making your words flesh. I knew a woman who habitually said, "I'm dead tired every single afternoon at 3 o'clock. Like clockwork." And like clockwork, a mysterious fatigue would wash over her at that exact hour, regardless of how well she'd slept or how light her workload was. Her words had become a self-fulfilling prophecy, a daily appointment with exhaustion that her body kept with religious devotion. When I pointed this out, she was stunned. She'd never connected the dots between her idle phrase and her physical experience. Within 1 week of changing her language, substituting "I'm energized" or simply remaining silent that afternoon, slump vanished completely, disappeared, as if it had never existed. This is the mechanical precision of spiritual law. It doesn't care about your intentions or what you really meant. It responds to the vibration of your words with mathematical exactness. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. Your words don't just shape your future. They're actively creating your present reality this very moment. Every complaint is a prayer for more of what you don't want. Every criticism is an invocation of imperfection. Every time you say, "I can't afford that," you're literally speaking yourself into poverty consciousness, even if your bank account says otherwise. The prosperous person and the poverty-stricken person often use entirely different vocabularies. The prosperous one speaks of abundance, opportunity, circulation. The one struggling speaks of lack, limitation, bills. And here's the kicker. Sometimes, the one with less money in the bank has far greater wealth consciousness than the one with overflowing accounts. I've watched people talk themselves out of fortunes, sabotage opportunities with a single sentence, watch them stand at the threshold of their greatest breakthrough and say, "This is too good to be true," and then wonder why it all fell apart. Your words are agreements with the universe. When you say, "I can't afford this," you're not stating a fact, you're placing an order. When you say, "Nothing ever works out for me," you're not being realistic, you're being prophetic. And the universe, in its perfect obedience, says, "Your wish is my command." I knew a woman who would end every hopeful sentence with, "But it probably won't happen." She'd say, "I'd love to get that promotion, but it probably won't happen. I'd like to meet someone wonderful, but it probably won't happen." She was canceling her own prayers. Every statement of desire immediately followed by its revocation. She couldn't understand why she felt stuck. She was issuing contradictory orders and wondering why the universe seemed confused. The universe isn't confused. It's responding to your dominant vibration, to the words you speak, with the most conviction and feeling. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of us speak our fears with far more passion than we speak our dreams. Listen to yourself for just 1 day. Record your speech if you have to. Count how many times you use words like can't, won't, impossible, difficult, struggle, hard. These aren't neutral descriptors. They're creative statements. They're shaping your experience moment by moment. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. You don't just speak to others. You speak to yourself constantly. That internal dialogue, that running commentary in your mind, that's the most powerful creative force in your life. Because those are the words spoken with the most frequency, the most belief, the most feeling. And for most people, that internal voice is absolutely brutal. It says things you would never tolerate from another person. It tells you you're not good enough, smart enough, attractive enough, deserving enough. It rehearses past failures and predicts future disasters. It's a full-time job of negative incantation, and then we wonder why our lives don't match our conscious desires. But here's what most people don't realize. That voice isn't even yours. It's a collection, a chorus of borrowed doubts. Every criticism you ever heard as a child, every dismissive comment from a teacher, every jealous remark from a friend, every societal message about who you're supposed to be and what you're allowed to want. That voice is a recording, playing on repeat, and you've been listening to it so long you think it's your intuition. You think it's protecting you. You think it's being realistic. Let me be clear. There's nothing realistic about rehearsing disaster. There's nothing protective about assuming the worst. That's not wisdom, that's trauma, trying to keep you small so you'll never be hurt again. I used to do this constantly. I'd wake up and immediately begin the negative scroll. What might go wrong today? Who might reject me? What evidence existed that I wasn't measuring up? I thought I was being prepared. I thought I was managing expectations. What I was actually doing was praying for the exact outcomes I feared. I was casting spells against myself. And the universe, in its perfect impartiality, said, okay, because it doesn't judge your words. It doesn't say, oh, she doesn't really mean that. It simply reflects. It simply responds to the vibration, the frequency, the emotional energy behind your words. So, when I complained constantly about being broke, I stayed broke. When I said relationships never worked out for me, they didn't. When I joked that I was always sick, my body complied. I thought I was just venting, just being honest, just expressing how I felt. What I was actually doing was commanding my reality into form. This is why you must become fanatical about what you allow to come out of your mouth. Not from a place of fear or superstition, but from a place of understanding how powerful you actually are. Your word is not a prediction. It's an instruction to the universe. When you say I am broke, you're not describing your bank account, you're commanding more lack into your experience. When you say, I never get what I want, you're literally blocking every gift the universe is trying to deliver to you. I once knew a woman who would say, every single day, nobody ever helps me. I have to do everything myself. And you know what? Her life perfectly reflected that statement. People would offer assistance, and somehow it would fall through. Opportunities for support would appear and then dissolve. She couldn't see that she was the one turning away, the very help she claimed to want, simply by declaring her isolation as a fact. The universe doesn't argue with you. It says, your wish is my command. So if you keep wishing for struggle, struggle is what you'll receive delivered with impressive consistency. Now listen carefully, because this is where most people stumble. Changing your words isn't about lying to yourself. It's not about pretending you have money when your rent is overdue. It's about speaking from the reality you're claiming, not the reality you're leaving behind. There's a distinction here that's crucial. When you say, I am wealthy, you're not denying your current bank balance. You're aligning with the truth of your being. You're speaking from the end. You're claiming the reality that already exists in the infinite potential of the universe. This is why affirmations fail for most people. They stand in front of the mirror and say, I am confident, while everything in their body language screams, I'm terrified. The words alone aren't enough. You must feel the truth of what you're speaking. You must claim it with your whole being. I learned to do what I call speaking from the wish fulfilled. Instead of saying, I want to be successful, which keeps success perpetually in the future, I started saying, I am divinely guided to perfect success. Not as a hope, not as a wish, as a statement of what is. The shift is subtle, but the results are explosive. You're no longer begging for something you don't have. You're claiming what already belongs to you. And here's what happens next, something most people never get to experience because they quit too early. The universe begins to meet you at your new frequency. You start noticing things. a conversation that leads to an opportunity, an email you almost missed, a person who shows up at exactly the right time. You might call it luck. I call it alignment. When you're vibrating at the frequency of your desire fulfilled, you become a magnet for everything that matches that vibration. It's not magic, it's law. You've simply tuned yourself to the right station, and now you're receiving the broadcast. But let me be clear about something, because this is where people stumble. Living in the wish fulfilled doesn't mean you sit on your couch and wait for a miracle. It means you move through your day with the quiet certainty that it's already handled. You take inspired action because you're not desperate, you're directed. There's a difference. Desperate action feels heavy. It's frantic. You're pushing, forcing, manipulating. You can feel the fear underneath every move. Inspired action feels light. It's natural. You're following a hunch, accepting an invitation, making a call because something in you says yes. There's no strain. Just flow. I've seen people transform their entire reality in weeks once they understood this. Not because they worked harder, because they worked from a different state. One woman came to me drowning in debt, convinced she'd never be free. I told her, stop affirming your lack. Stop telling the story of what you owe. Start living as the woman who is financially free. She resisted at first. But the bills are real, she said. And so is your imagination, I replied. Which one are you going to feed? She started affirming, I am debt-free. Money flows to me easily and constantly. She stopped checking her bank account obsessively. She stopped the panicked energy. She started feeling grateful for the money she did have, treating it with respect, spending consciously but without fear. Within 2 months, she received an unexpected inheritance. A month later, a job offer that doubled her income. 6 months after that, completely debt-free. Coincidence? I don't believe in them. I believe in law. You are always manifesting. The question is what? Fear or faith? Lack or abundance? The old story or the new one? The moment you choose the new story, really choose it, not with clenched fists but with open hands, something in the universe shifts. It has to. Because the universe isn't some distant force judging your worthiness. It's the very substance responding to your word. I watched this happen with a woman who'd been offered a job opportunity that terrified her. Better position. More. Money. More visibility. And every cell in her body screamed, I'm not ready. But here's what she did, instead of refusing it outright. She stopped treating her fear as evidence and started treating it as weather. I notice I'm afraid, she said. And I'm doing it anyway. She didn't wait to feel confident. She didn't manufacture fake certainty. She just stopped letting fear make her decisions. Within 3 months, that job had opened doors she never imagined. Not because she was suddenly fearless, but because she stopped requiring fearlessness as a condition for moving forward. This is the part they don't tell you about manifestation. You don't eliminate fear. You stop giving it executive power. You don't erase doubt. You just stop letting it write the script. And here's the beautiful truth underneath all of it. Your good is already established in the invisible. Already done. Already complete. Your only job is to accept delivery, not to earn it. Not to prove you deserve it, to accept it. Think about that for a moment. Everything you've been striving for, hustling for, sacrificing for, what if it's already yours in the realm of divine ideas? What if the only thing standing between you and its manifestation is your willingness to claim it? This isn't spiritual bypassing. This isn't pretending problems don't exist. This is understanding that the level of consciousness that created the problem cannot solve it. You have to rise. And rising doesn't mean working harder. It means thinking differently, speaking differently, choosing differently. I'm going to say something that might sound radical. You are not your circumstances. You never were. Your circumstances are the outpicturing of old thoughts, old words, old patterns. They're evidence of where you've been, not where you're going. The moment you stop identifying with lack, with limitation, with the old story, the moment you anchor yourself in the truth of infinite supply, the outer world begins to rearrange itself. Not someday, not eventually, now, today, this minute. So what's the new story you're telling? What words are you speaking over your life right now?